Yo, what's good, y'all? Welcome back to Kid Taj, and today I'm going to be addressing these Carmelo Anthony to the Houston Rockets rumors. And we've been hearing a ton of this. Obviously, Carmelo Anthony has had himself surrounded with trade rumors for years. I mean, it's just been here for so long, and he's not the only one. Obviously, we saw guys like Jimmy Butler and Paul George, other star wing players in the Eastern Conference, get shipped off to the West this year. These talented wing players that are the best players on their teams, and they're always in the trade rumors. They're gone, and you gotta think with Carmelo Anthony, can we really imagine him in the Knicks uniform next year? I think they want to get rid of him very badly. I think he wants to get out of there as well. And this trade to the Houston Rockets, we know that he would accept this trade as he has that no trade clause. He would definitely be inclined to waive that for this trade because, we've heard that. Obviously, Houston's a team trying to contend next season. The Knicks clearly are not, and Carmelo Anthony shouldn't want anything to do with them right now. And Houston looks like the destination that he will be settling into for next season. I think that's the best bet for him. That's what we know the most about. It's hard to imagine him, like I said, in New York back again, just because of how things are going with him in the front office and the shape of that team. And we all know how terrible this Knicks franchise is in terms of the higher-ups. And we all know about them. But look, Carmelo Anthony should be out of here, whether it be via trade or buyout. One way or another, he's probably not going to be in New York next year. And, obviously, we've been hearing offers from we don't know the offers, but we've been hearing rumors about the Houston Rockets trying to go get this guy, and it seems like it's very close. This is the favorite to land Carmelo Anthony by a long shot, and man, do I have some thoughts about this. Now, I know I might be a little bit late because these rumors came out, and I actually hesitated to make this video because I thought that the trade would go down. I was thinking, I'll make the video on the rumors, and then it would actually happen, so what's the point? I was like, you know what, I'll just wait till the trade actually happens, but it's been a few days, and we haven't had anything, really. It might happen out of the blue. It really could, but I would advise the Houston Rockets, do not make this trade unless it's a complete finesse and you don't have to give up anything at all. And even then, I don't even know if I like this. Do you really think a team with Harden, Carmelo, and Chris Paul is going to beat the Warriors? Not that these individual players are very good players, and we know that. And James Harden and Chris Paul are established all-stars, and rightfully so. Carmelo Anthony, he's fallen off a little bit, and I've talked about how I think he's an overrated player, but maybe he isn't anymore, because I think a lot of people actually know now Carmelo Anthony isn't what he used to be, but he still can be a very highly productive offensive player, and if that's what you need, he can really give that to you and help your team. However, this Houston Rockets team is in absolutely no need of more ball-dominant offensive weapons. Absolutely not. That's exactly what this team doesn't need. You added Chris Paul, so you could get James Harden some offensive help in the backcourt. You get another guy to move the ball around and get these shooters shots, which was a working formula because James Harden succeeded so much because of this team built around him last season. He had all these shooters, guys that could guard on one end and shoot on the other. Perfect for James Harden. This team was built for James Harden. You throw Chris Paul in there, and now it's like, okay, well, there's a question there about, look, how are they going to share the ball, share leadership? They can both make it work, probably. Then you add in Carmelo Anthony, who's not really the spot-up shooter that you need around James Harden. Yes, granted, he can shoot the ball, but Carmelo Anthony's a shot-creating player, okay? He's going to get his own shots. He uses dribble pull-ups and post moves and stuff like that, stuff that will take time out of your possession. You need the ball to do those moves and to score and be effective. Carmelo Anthony does. So to me, we're talking about, look, are there enough basketballs to go around for just James Harden and Chris Paul? Throw Carmelo in there, and this is a disaster. I'm so surprised people actually think this can be a good idea. First of all, James Harden and Carmelo Anthony are two guys that are primarily offensive players. Two guys that are going to score, and obviously James Harden is going to facilitate an offensive flow. He's going to get shooters open and the ball, and he's going to run shit, right? Carmelo Anthony, he's the guy you give the ball to score the ball. He's not the guy that you give the ball to spot up for jump shots. Carmelo Anthony isn't your spot-up shooter. You have that. Trevor Ariza is a perfect 3-and-D spot-up player alongside James Harden. And there's not really a reason. You got Chris Paul for the reason, like, okay, if you needed another guy to handle the ball, there you go. You have Chris Paul. And it's great because Chris Paul also brings great defense, and he's a great passer. So you're fine. You don't need anything more. What is the point of Carmelo Anthony? What do you really need that Carmelo Anthony has? It's just like they're trying to stockpile as much talent as they possibly can without being concerned about, how this actually wouldn't help your team at all. And I said in the beginning, don't do this trade unless, you finesse. I don't even know if they should do this trade regardless. I don't know. Do you really want this? How? I don't understand how you could possibly... And look, it's not a shot at anybody, because I know all three of these guys can play, but they do not make sense on a court at the same time at all, unless you literally have to ask Carmelo to just be a spot-up shooter. And then what's the point? What's the point of having Carmelo if you don't need a go-to scorer? You already have that. You have two guys that can make shots for themselves and for others, and then you have shooters, and then you have an athletic, rebounding, and defender at center in Clint Capella. Your rotation is solid right now as it is. It really doesn't make any... Unless you bring him off the bench. Like, literally, that's the only thing I could think of that would work. I would actually rather have Carmelo off the bench, because then maybe when you take James Harden out of the game, you can put Carmelo in, and they can play together a little bit. I would never play the three of these guys at the same time. Maybe a few minutes a game if that happens, but literally, and you might be thinking it sounds crazy. It's not like Melo's, not good, so we have to put him on the bench. And look, I don't think Melo is some great star either. I mean, I've talked about how he's really just a scorer at this point, but he is kind of a bona fide sixth man in a way. And yeah, he can take over a game. And I'm not saying he's that guy that plays like 20 minutes. I'm saying you could play Carmelo like 30 minutes off the bench, and that would be fine. He's getting older, and he has to become more of a specialist player, honestly, because he's not going to be that number one guy anymore. He's not going to just take over these games and be on a winning team at the same time. He can't be the number one guy on a team like this. And if you're joining Chris Paul and James Harden, you can't be number two either, and you can't really play with these guys and play how you want to play. So yeah, I mean, Carmelo wants to win, but Jesus, this doesn't make any sense to me. I think the Houston Rockets are getting stars for the sake of getting stars, so they can have more big names on their roster, which is what the Bulls did last year, except to a much worse degree when they picked up Rondo and Wade, like two guys that were previously all-stars, that aren't all-stars anymore, but used to be great in their primes, but we clearly aren't in their primes. I obviously, of course I had to bring up the Bulls, in the video, in a video that's, anyway, this doesn't seem right. I think if you're the Knicks, you should do all you can to get Carmelo off your hands, because then at least you wouldn't have to pay him all that money. You wouldn't have to do that buyout, which, this is more beneficial to you. You might have to give up Carmelo and something else, though. So really, if I'm Houston, I'm like, okay, well, I want Carmelo and I want a valuable. I want someone else too, not Porzingis, but someone that can actually help this team. Because Carmelo, only way I could see Carmelo helping the Rockets is in a bench role. The only way I could see it. I cannot fathom the idea in my head of Chris Paul, James Harden, and Carmelo Anthony on offense, running a quality possession. And not only that, but literally on defense, if you add Carmelo Anthony in, he's making your team worse, because you already have James Harden, who's a defensive liability. You add in Carmelo Anthony, another defensive liability, and it just makes things worse for you. Literally, you won't have as productive of an offense or defense. The Houston Rockets had an amazing offense last year. Amazing. They were great. If anything, they need to get more defense. And yeah, they gave away Pat Bev for Chris Paul, so their defense is still solid there, right? Because, those guys are both elite defensive players, but it's not like they needed this huge upgrade on the offensive end. They still have Eric Gordon. Yeah, they got rid of Lou Will, but Carmelo, is he really your replacement, Lou Will? Is that what you're doing here? Because then maybe that makes a little sense, but even Lou Will could spot up, shoot better. But Lou Will, we all knew that his job was to come in off the bench and run the offense and be a scorer, really. I mean, that's really what it was about. Carmelo Anthony, he's going to want to start because he's a big name and he's entitled to that because of his hard work that he's put in the NBA and his achievements. So look, this is a bad idea in general. I would not do this if I was Houston. I like the Houston squad without Carmelo Anthony. And I think if you're getting someone else, this is not the type of player you want. You don't want someone ball dominant. Like DeAndre Jordan would be the best and I know like DeAndre Jordan, they're not going to get him because they don't have the assets to do that. They won't give up what they need to get him. I'm just saying it's that type of player. They need a guy that's good, that doesn't need the ball in his hands to be effective. Like getting Paul George instead of Melo. And again, it's like you got to give up a lot to get that, or at least a little more than you would have to do to get Melo. But still, I mean, that's the type of, because Paul George defends and he's a spot-up player. And he's more of a spot-up player than Melo, at least. So, yeah, again, this doesn't make any sense to me. Let me know what you guys think down below. I can't imagine this working like I've been saying. But, yeah, I mean, what do you guys think? Leave a like if you enjoy. Follow me on Twitter for basketball opinions and other stuff. That's also sick. I'm out. Thanks for watching, y'all. Peace.